All right, welcome back to the UnTalk podcast. I'm your host, Lemire T, joined by the infamous, the elusive, the exclusive, and any other fantastic adjective to properly describe the man here, who is Mike Nice. Welcome back to the UnTalk.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, good to have you. Appreciate it. And
Yeah.
You just so happen to be joining us for one of our special segments, one of our most popular segments, which is Black and White. I guess by default, I'm black.
But no, I got the black shirt.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, mine kind of looks white, but it's not white. It's kind of a goldish.
Off-white.
Yeah, there we go. So we kind of did the cross thing, like the black face, black shirt, white.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
The yin and the yang to this conversation. Love it. Yeah.
Got it.
So for those of you who are new to the UnTalk, this is a segment that we love to do where we're coming from a different space in a different place. This is from a perspective of not just myself being a black male and not just Mike being a white male, but from a standpoint of the stereotypical black male, if you will, and the stereotypical white male. So the opinions and the things we discuss are not necessarily of our own, but we're trying to come from a space. Would you say, Mike, we're coming from the space of the average person in our skin tone?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that is the premise for things. So we like to go over a list of questions that have come in from you, the viewers, from you, the listeners, of different things for us to untalk and discuss. And it's important to understand that we're opening up the door to allow the wind to blow through for conversation. And again, we're not saying that this is how I feel and this is how he feels, but these are questions that you guys have given us because this is how you feel and this is how some people feel. And we're just allowing the platform to dictate the conversation. And again, this is Black and White, and I'll be black for this segment. So I think you have to be white. You think you can handle it?
Yeah, I tried to audition for the other role by going out and working in the yard, but I ended up just turning red. So
gotcha.
Apparently,
well,
the sun hates me. So.
Oh, well, so say maybe that'd be a different segment, like the black and white and red and something. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
I'll just be white.
There you go. That works. So we'll go ahead and get started. So from the first one, looks like from the black perspective or for the black question, they want to ask you, why do you hate us so much?
We don't hate you.
Okay.
This is a honest conversation that I've heard many, many times. Mm-hmm. Let's break it down to the N-word. Mm-hmm. There are N-words that end in A, okay, and N-words that end in R.
Okay.
I don't have any problems with anyone that ends in an A. We can be great friends. Okay. We can be coworkers. We can even be, seen in public together. Mm-hmm. You can come to my house and you can be in my Bible study. Mm-hmm. Like, I would prefer that. But it's those N-words that end in an R. They're the problem.
Gotcha.
They're the hoodlums. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're automatically guilty of something as soon as you see them, mm-hmm, because why wouldn't they be? Mm. They're always up to something. Mm-hmm. They're trouble. That's the viewpoint that as a white person we typically have, is which black person are you?
Gotcha.
Are you in the good category, or are you in the I have to keep my eye on you category, and I'm going to pull a Karen and call the police as soon as you stop crossing your T's and dotting your I's exactly the way I want you to? It's not a hate, it's a suspicion.
Gotcha. So to that point, let's untalk that a little bit. Do you feel as if, and this is not from the perspective of the dialogue for the black and white, but from speaking to you, do you think a lot of that comes from the media? Do you think the media helps that, hurts that, creates that, or reaffirms what some people may have felt all along or maybe been taught in their households?
100%. This is the media playbook. Is if two, let's not even say teenagers, but young 20-something males commit the same crime, and are put on the news, the white male will have a wonderful picture, probably his senior picture from high school, as his, let's say they both committed a rape. Well, his picture is going to be when he was prom king, and he's going to have a suit on. And the black male is going to be a picture of him, if he ever got arrested, if he was ever in trouble. Right. It's going to be a picture that makes him look angry. It's going to be a picture that makes him look like tough and like he's scary. That's what the media does, is they automatically try to make the black person look like a criminal and make the white person look like, he's not that bad. We literally had a white teenage male rapist who was caught in the act and who got let off. Was it Brock Turner? He got let off after 6 months because he was such a good swimmer that the judge said it would be detrimental to his swimming career. We can't do that. We can't do that to this talented white athlete. Would that ever happen for a black teenager? And we had 5 black teenagers go to prison for a rape they didn't commit, and a man who had no involvement in it, who was putting ads in the front page of the paper trying to get them murdered by the state. Willis. So that's the media. The media is furthering some lunatic trying to get the death penalty for 5 innocent children, and they're allowing that conversation to happen because they're black. Who cares? What's the value of their life? The media is bought and paid for by these people who have grown up scared and suspicious. It all comes back to that. Yeah. It's really comes down to a fear. And so if I bring it back to my own story, because I can really only speak from, my personal experiences, that I went to a public school. It was a somewhat diverse school. It was mostly white. I had a few black friends, and we got along really well because we had common interests. We were into music, and that was pretty much it. I never thought anything differently of them. But I remember there was a point where funding for the schools we couldn't pass levies. And there was conversations that they were thinking about joining my high school with the senior high school that was like downtown, basically in the hood, where the majority was definitely black. And I was so scared, so terrified. Like I was pleading with my parents to like homeschool me or like put me in a private school because I was just intimidated. I'd never been around that many black people, and it was the fear of the unknown, but also fear of being in a culture where I would be the minority. And I think that's where a lot of white people are really scared, is they're afraid that they're going to lose the majority and lose power. And what's going to happen to a entire demographic of people who have ruled over another demographic of people with an iron fist and with whips and with torture and murder? What's going to happen when the tide turns and now they're the minority? That's why white people are so afraid of black people, because they should be. They treated them like dogs, worse than dogs. Why wouldn't you be afraid? Right. And that's why they do that. Why don't you go back to Africa? they don't say that to all of the black people. They say that to the ones that are rising up, the ones that they can't control anymore.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You're a problem. You won't listen
Mm-hmm.
to me, the white person. You need to get out of here and go away because you're a problem. I can't make you sit down. I can't make you go to the back of the bus.
Right.
You need to get off the bus. That's what that is.
So to that point, since this is the black and white segment, and for those of you who are joining us here at the UnTalk, we do appreciate it. This is the segment called Black and White, where we're discussing things from a black and white standpoint. And the things are black are not always my standpoint, and the things that are white are not always Mike's standpoint, even though I think you're pretty comfortable with being white, right?
Sometimes.
Yeah, me, I'm pretty comfortable with being black. At least when I'm bald, when I grow hair, then I'm something special then. But yeah, we're coming from a different standpoint. We're just going over different talking points and untalking some of the things from a stereotypical standpoint. So let's go from your standpoint, from a white standpoint. You have anything that you want to touch on, or you want us to go on some of the things that the listeners are writing into us?
I would want to ask what black people really think about inequality in the business field.
Yeah, in the business field. Well, first of all, we feel like there are so many games that you have to play. And within the game, there are these individual games. And we generally don't either know all the rules are not being told to us. We're being told one thing when in actuality, the rules are something completely different. The rules can change on the drop of a dime. And because there's all these little nuances, things that you got to think about on a consistent basis, we tend to just get frustrated and not want to play. That's where a lot of our frustration comes in the business sector, is we feel like there's these unsaid knowns that everybody else seems to know and seems to get. And because either we don't know, as I mentioned, or sometimes we just want to be so much us that we don't want to feel like we have to conform to anything else to fit in. Perfect example, it seems to be the norm, whether you work in the financial service industry, whether you work in the political arena, you seem to see a lot of white men with no facial hair. And that seems to just kind of be like the unsaid known, like you just have no facial hair. If you're going to be a Democrat, if you're going to be a Republican. And while we see that and we understand that, okay, well, where did that come from? Is that in the playbook, or is that in the rule book? Did you teach that in college? Did you have to go to a special school to know that? Because we see that since we don't really know the rules behind that, we want to have our goatees and our beards, or we want to have our braids or our dreads or something like that. And we just don't want to conform because of part of what we as a whole have in this country is our individuality. Because for so many years, we were forced to do it like this. Got to operate like this, got to move like this. It's all got to be like this. So the minute we get to wear our baggy pants or our Jordans or our Air Force Ones or put our clothes on, and the minute we can break out of corporate America and I don't have to wear polos and khakis anymore and I can dress like I want to, we going to. And we we gonna make it look good. I can be broke and get ready to get evicted, but I look good. That's important. That's important to us, because whether it's the business sector, whether it's stocks and bonds, whether it's CDs, we don't have a lot traditionally. So the things that we have, they're important to us. So all that to say that in the business sector, sometimes we just don't want to play those games. Now, we have the talent, clearly and obviously, to be able to do these things. But another thing that frustrates us in the business sector is we feel as if we can build our business to a certain standpoint and we can have top-notch service or tangible items to provide. And if we bring it to the suburbs, if we bring it to white folks, we feel as if the minute we do anything that's wrong or is a misstep, you'll just write us off forever. And you'll never patronize us. You'll never deal with us again when it's something that any company would have made a mistake on. White owned, Mexican owned, Somalian owned. But the minute we do it, we feel like you guys just write us off forever and be done with us. And so because of it, then we tend to get frustrated and kind of lump everybody together. Oh, all white people. So then we take our business to the hood. And sometimes when we go out to the hood, we don't have the type of appreciation for the hustle, for the drive, for the process. And we used to getting hookups. So we want them amongst each other, cousin to cousin, brother to sister. Hey, hook me up with this, hook me up with her. And we just used to that. So we go out and we do that to one another, and we get frustrated and act like we don't understand why that is. It's just a lot of games we feel like that's being played. We get frustrated and we just don't want to play. No different than when it comes to the political arena. That's the reason why sometimes we don't care to vote. We understand what our forefathers and mothers of old, the sacrifices and the sufferings and the death and the incarceration and the ridicule and the lynchings. And we understand all these things, whether they're read, whether we saw them in movies, whether we have family members who are alive or lived long enough to tell us the stories. We understand all those things, but because there's so many games within the game. And they'll say, here's the issue. It's issue number one. When talk about reparations, okay, well, we jump on board with that because that makes sense to us. But the other 5, 6 things you got on your agenda is crazy that we would never support. So right. You know what? We just don't want to, oh, this is the big old game. I got to do all this research on the candidate and find out all about your life and what you did and what you didn't do and what you signed in the bill and what you didn't. And in the meantime, I'm hungry. And in the meantime, I don't make enough money to do the stuff I need to do. I don't have time for this. I'm too busy worrying about me to worry about you and focus on you and put all that time and energy. And then we've seen evidence of our vote not mattering. Or, we're finished. We closed up the polls in Florida, but we're going to do a recount. And you thought you won, but we psych. And you won the popular vote, but you lose over here. But you're the president. And we just like, you know what? This is just confirmation to us and how we discuss things. It don't matter. Y'all going to do what y'all want to do regardless. So that is how we feel in the business sector and just in general.
It reminds me, I had a dream a couple nights ago that I was at like a banquet in kind of the lobby area, and I was the only white person. It was all black people, and it was children all the way up to grandparents, families everywhere, dressed incredibly, like probably a wedding, but not just any wedding. It was like probably Malia Obama's wedding or Sasha Obama's wedding. Like everybody was dressed that well.
Sure.
And in all the corners, there were kind of like photo backdrops, but with like video cameras. All the video operators were white people, like news journalists. So they're like doing little pop-up interviews at all these little stations. So it was like a cocktail hour that was going on. From there, we go up the steps to another landing, and there's just more cocktail hour happening and more interviews happening. And then go up to another level, more cocktail hour, and the dream just keeps going on. And I just see more people, just beautiful, like beautiful dresses, beautiful coats, the best suits that you've ever seen. They're having the best time of their lives. Just this incredible party, this great celebration. And we just keep climbing these ladders to more landings and more celebrating, but we never get to the reception. And that is our economy. That is America. That's what's happening. Is we built a system for the black people and all people of color and all minorities, where they just have to make you so excited that you got invited to the cocktail party and just make you feel like you're going to get to the reception. But as long as you never make it to the reception doors where they are, they're happy. And you're happy because you got invited.
Sure.
You're here. You're here with your people. This is the best night ever, but you're not getting in. And that's what they want. So I feel like that really ties into what you're saying with the business world and with voting and probably way more with the Black community compared to the white community.
Sure.
There are all these restrictions and games. They're put in place for a reason. That's why voter suppression exists.
Right.
Everything is made hard for you, not for my grandparents.
Right.
Voting for them is easy because they're white and they're old. Well, why would we want you to come out to the polls and stand in line for hours?
Right.
You're an old white person.
Right.
You can just mail that stuff. We want your vote.
Yeah. So we get the dream, the debut of the dream. Amazing. Always dropping the jewels on us, man. Love it.
The lesser dream.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it was still a good dream, though. And very, very valid point.
Yeah.
So if you're just joining us, this is the UnTalk podcast. I'm Lemire T. Mike Nice is in the hoster. I just threw that out. He's in a holster. See, like the blazing saddle. There you go. 6-shooter. So, yes, and we're going through our segment, Black and White, where we're discussing things from the Black and White standpoint. Things that I'm discussing are not always Black, and the things that Mike's discussing are not always white. As a matter of fact, they're not even from our mental space, but just in general, how the masses thinks, things that the masses may ask or be curious about. We're untalking those things during this segment. So to that point, we'll go back on your end from a Black standpoint. And these are questions that you guys have come up with, and we do appreciate you for those questions. You can submit those questions to us at channel 614 or #Untalk. So it looks like the next one is, why do you act like slavery never happened? Why is it that you almost refuse to acknowledge it, discuss it? It just makes you more uncomfortable than it makes us. Why do you not acknowledge that it happened?
Well, as a stereotypical white male,
right.
it would simply just be, it's so long ago. It's so far in the past that we don't need to keep talking about it. It's nobody is alive right now that was alive back then. So let's just get over it. All of the descendants from the slaves that are still here are living better lives because those slaves came here. And are you living a better life now in America than you would be if you were still in Africa? Probably. I mean, you're living in a free country now. What would you be doing in Africa if your family had stayed there? So you're reaping the benefits of a person who came over here because of slavery. So to keep talking about slavery as if it negatively affected you doesn't make any sense.
Gotcha.
Yes, it's terrible that your ancestor had to go through that, but you should be grateful that they endured that because you have all of these opportunities now because of that. So, and then also most stereotypical white people will probably say things like most slave owners took care of their slaves like they were family. A lot of them would live in the houses and they would eat their food, not necessarily at the table with them, but they would have access to good food. So now as a slave, you have better nutrition and better housing than you had back in your native homeland. So you're being cared for. So now you have this extended family, basically, that you didn't have. Now, granted, that doesn't make up for the fact that you were taken from your actual family, and you would rather have that than any luxuries.
Right.
But those are most of the arguments that you would get is it's over. Let's move on. And just completely not acknowledge that the effects of it have lingered in our society and are still here.
And I think it's very important that we put the disclaimer on, as you've thrown out a couple different times. This is from the standpoint of the stereotypical white male. I definitely know not your point of view, but just throwing that out. So to that point, do you think that another reason may be for that mentality is if you acknowledge, meaning, the stereotypical white person, acknowledge it, then you almost open up the doors for more discussions, whether it's reparations, whether it's biases, whether it's inequalities, whether it's almost force you to have to look at other things that you don't want to look at. Is that part of it also?
Yeah, because if we had to dig in and talk about slavery and all of the effects that it has had, slavery, Jim Crow, and now the war on crime that is only really affecting people of color, which is basically our current version of slavery. This system of oppression that we've continued ever since slavery, we would actually have to do something and address it, which if we did, then the people in power lose their power.
Sure.
Their literal power is oppression. So you take away the oppression, they don't have power anymore. What are they going to do? Just tell you what to do and hope you do it?
Right.
No. That's like you stop spanking your kid. Now your kid talks back to you. And okay, now I have a kid that talks back to me. What do I do?
Right.
And that's where our country is. They have to keep oppressing people to make them afraid of them, afraid of the consequences. So now, if we address slavery, now we have to address what we did to the Japanese in the internment camps. We have to address how we've treated every immigrant as they came into this nation, and we treated them as the cheapest labor, and we abused them. Because that's what we do. When you're the newest, you're the abused.
Right.
And we would have to get the kids out of the cages that have been sitting there all year.
Right.
So no, white people, they want to sweep everything under the rug and then seal that rug around the edges and leave the room and lock the door behind them.
So maybe this our last untalking point here. You have anything that you want to throw and ask to Black people, or you want us to come up with one of the questions from the list?
I want to talk about the N-word.
Oh, there's an N-word?
Nice.
Right. Right, exactly. So what about it? What do you want to ask me?
So I 100% understand, I mentioned it earlier. There's a difference between the word ending in A, the word ending in R. The word ending in R is 1,000% offensive. The word ending in A is a term of endearment in the Black community. This is my personal stance. And I don't understand how that term can be used as a term of endearment in your community. And I don't understand how it can be taken back because it was never yours in the first place. It was a term that was put on your people by ignorant, hateful people. It came from Niger, or was it Latin or French for Black? It was literally some hateful, ignorant person looked at one of you and saw your skin and said that word. So you're not taking the word back. It was never yours. You're trying to reappropriate it. But in no way that you say that word does it not mean what it meant.
I get what you're saying. There's a couple of different parts of it. And as we're discussing the Black portion, part of this is going to be from my standpoint, and part of it is from the stereotypical Black standpoint. And you'll see as I go down this road on which side is which, because I don't use it, meaning that word at all. I don't, whether it's R at the end, whether it's AAH, whatever. I just don't use it. But at the same time, I get why people do. I think that it's interesting that as we untalked about some of the points earlier, how people get to use things they want to use it in the way that they want to, and that's fine. But when Black people use things the way they want to use it, there's an uproar, there's a problem, or we even have to look at it. And here's what I mean. By some words and some things create a vision. So if I say to you, hillbilly, or if I say redneck, or cowboy, or trucker, or a farmer, you'll generally have a vision in your mind of what that person looks like. A redneck could very well be somebody with some work boots on that got mud all over them, who've got some tight fitting, jeans on, got on a t-shirt with no sleeves, got on the ball cap where it's kind of rounded in the front, chewing on something, and they are proud to be a redneck. That's a term of endearment to them, and they will gladly tell you, I'm a redneck, or I'm a hillbilly, or I'm a hick. Those are terms of endearment to them. But on the flip side, then you'll find a Black person who will use that word and use it as a term of endearment. And, we got to have a discussion. Like, I can't believe you using that word. And again, I don't justify it because I don't use it. I just get it. I understand it. And what we have Black people have always done is we've always taken the lemons and made lemonade. Or we've taken the lime and put it in the water to sprouse it up. Or we didn't have the pasta to make spaghetti, so we use ramen noodles. We always have taken what has been given to us or what we had and find a way to make it happen, to use it to our benefit. So from a kind of reverse psychology, if you will, we took something that you kept saying to us to make us to hurt each other, and we just flipped it on you. And we just say, yeah, we'll use it all the time. And this is how I refer to my man. And when you my man, it's one difference when you my man and when you my mans. Like when you my mans and this is my mans now, then that's the word you associate with it. So how Black people look at white people when they use that word is not just the fact that you said it, but what was in you to make you want to say it. Like, is that something you've been wanting to say forever? And now this is your opportunity? When you just say it so cavalier, like it's in a rap song, I don't understand why you would even want to. It's not the fact that people say, well, why do y'all use it towards one another? Well, we can't say it, but why would you? Like, why would you want to say it? Is there something that I need to know? You've been waiting on the opportunity for me to cut you off in traffic so you can and that's the first word to come out your mouth. So that's kind of how we look at it. We just took it and we flipped it. No different than one of the staples of the hood is cheap car places where you can go get $1,200 and get you a car and come off the lot with it. So we took all those cars, that cheap $800 cars, 600 cars, and we put rims on them. And we put systems in and we put paint on them. And we took the scraps that was given to us and we made a meal instead of necessarily complaining about things. And that's just what we do. So that's kind of how we look at it. But again, it's more so, not that you say it, but what's in you to make you want to say it is how we look at it.
Because it was pretty topical recently. One of the girls from The Bachelor, she was on Instagram or TikTok or something, okay, and she was singing along to a song, and that word was in the song, and she sang it, and she's a white person, and she got a bunch of backlash for it. And especially one of the Black female contestants put up a video explaining, hey, why you should not do this. Mm-hmm. And that's basically what, I mean, I've hated that word for forever. And it really just kind of brought that back to mind, why I think Bill Cosby even had the same idea that I did, that he hated that the younger Black folks were trying to reappropriate that word. Mm-hmm. And that was one thing I respect about Bill Cosby. Exactly. We'll dive into that another time.
Right.
But it's like you said, Black people are examining the ulterior motive of a white person when they say that. Like, has that been in the back of your tongue for a long time, and you've been waiting for that moment? And maybe that's the case, but there also might be this yearning to be a part of your culture, because a white person who loves hip hop and R&B is a person who wants to be accepted into that culture. And so now the way that you've reappropriated that term is you're saying, now this term that used to mean you are someone that I own, and now you're taking it to mean, no, you're my person that I own, because we are now family. We're like brothers. So now you can go up to anybody that you respect and say, you are someone that I am now related to. We are brothers. So now this white person singing this song that they love around their friends of, white and black, they're singing it proudly because they want to be in that culture.
Gotcha.
So I don't think it's something that they're doing out of maliciousness. It's something they're doing out of yearning to be accepted. And that's why I want to petition for Black people to never say it, because of this reason. Because even though they're reappropriating it as this term of endearment and this term of, they're literally using it as this bond.
Right.
Of, this is how much I respect you. Like, you are mine. I am yours. We are together. To the point of somebody used the worst term. Like, look it up in the dictionary. It literally says it's the most offensive term in history. And we're taking it and we're flipping it complete 180. So now it's going to be the most powerful term for us. So now the most powerful term for two Black people to associate their relationship. But if a white person wants to say, hey, I also have that relationship with you, and I want to associate that and this song with you and my relationship with you, and this, but all of a sudden the tires screech, everything comes to a stop.
You better not.
Just because your skin is white. It's because that word still has that power. Even though the Black community has reappropriated it for themselves, you can't erase the history of the word. So there's always going to be that baggage along with it. And you can't, and the fact that baggage is associated with the racial divide, that's why I will always hate that word. And even when it's in rap songs, and even when Black people are using it as a term of respect and love and adoration for each other, I appreciate what they're doing, and the fact that they're using it as a way to slap white people across the face. I absolutely appreciate that, and I find joy in that. Any way you can get some retribution, you should do that. I think you'll never be able to take away the racial divide that word brings.
Yeah, so thank you for that, and thank you for untalking those points. Again, this is the UnTalk podcast, the Black and White segment. Total disclaimer once again, these are not necessarily the viewpoints of mine or of Mike's, but just speaking from a stereotypical Black perspective as a stereotypical white perspective, and just open up the doors for conversation. Thanks for joining us on Black and White. This is the UnTalk podcast.